When the bank first called, I thought it was a mistake. They said I owed $623,000 on a mortgage I'd never signed. My stomach twisted as the representative calmly explained that my name was on the loan for a house on Highland Drive. That was my sister's street. At first, I wanted to believe it was a misunderstanding. But as the evidence stacked up, the truth became unavoidable. My sister had stolen my identity to buy her dream home. And one night during family dinner, I slid the police report across the table. Her fork hit the plate, and for the first time, her mask cracked. Before it all fell apart, I'm Leila Morgan, 29, a pediatric nurse in Seattle. My life wasn't flashy, but it was mine. 6 years at Seattle Grace Hospital had given me a second family and my coworkers. My tiny apartment in Ballard, filled with far too many plants, felt like a sanctuary. My parents, Victor and Alina, raised me and my older sister, Serafina, with love and discipline. She was 3 years ahead of me, always confident, always the one people noticed. I was quieter, bookish, but we stayed close into adulthood. Serafina built a career in high-end real estate. Married to Damien, a financial advisor, she flaunted the kind of lifestyle that lit up Instagram feeds. Luxury vacations, a picture-perfect house, designer everything. Meanwhile, I focused on work and lived simply. She sometimes poked at me about aiming higher, but I let it slide. When she and Damien moved into their beautiful Queen Anne home, I congratulated her with genuine happiness. I never imagined that house would later be tied to my name, illegally. The phone call that shattered everything, it was a Tuesday like any other. I was tending to a 7-year-old patient when my phone buzzed. Against my usual rule, I answered. "Miss Morgan, this is Marcus Hale from Washington Mutual. We need to discuss your missed mortgage payments." My pulse spiked. There must be some mistake. I don't own a home, I rent an apartment. But he pressed on. "Our records show a $623,000 loan under your name for Highland Drive. Payments stopped in April." Highland Drive, Serafina's address. I froze. At the branch later that week, the manager placed document after document before me, loan applications, signatures that looked eerily like mine, income details I'd never given. The house on Highland Drive was listed. That's when it hit me. My sister had done this. The spiral. I filed fraud alerts, pulled my credit, and nearly collapsed when I saw the damage. Not only the mortgage, but 3 maxed-out credit cards, a $45,000 personal loan, and a $150,000 home equity line, all under my name. My credit score had tanked from 724 to 546. I met with a financial advisor who confirmed the sophistication of the scheme. The paperwork, the fake income, the email address almost identical to mine. It was deliberate. Then came the final blow. A handwriting analyst confirmed my signatures were forged. Still, part of me prayed it wasn't her. But everything pointed to Serafina. She had the knowledge, the access, and the motive. Digging deeper, I started quietly asking around. A friend who worked at a luxury car dealership admitted she'd overheard Serafina and Damien arguing about bad credit after paying cash for a vehicle. Bank records showed transfers from fraudulent accounts in my name straight into theirs. And when Detective Nadia Cruz from Seattle PD got involved, the case grew darker. Their home IP address had been tied to the loan applications. On Damien's computer, searches popped up about bankruptcy laws under my identity. They hadn't just stolen from me. They had planned to financially ruin me, to walk away while I carried the burden. The report filing the police report felt like signing away the last of my denial. Detective Cruz warned me. If the evidence held, Serafina could face prison for identity theft and mortgage fraud. I thought about our childhood, about my parents' heartbreak. But then I thought of my life crumbling because of her choices. I signed. The confrontation a week later, my parents invited us for our usual family dinner. My mother promised lasagna, my dad poured wine, and Serafina waltzed in, glowing as ever, offering me career advice like nothing had happened. I sat there, barely tasting the food, the manila folder heavy in my bag. Finally, when my father asked why I seemed quiet, I looked my sister in the eye. "There is something I need to share with everyone." I told the kids to leave the room. Then I pulled out the folder and placed it in the center of the table. "This," I said, sliding the police report towards Serafina, "is what you've done." Her smile faltered. The sound of her fork clattering against porcelain echoed in the silence. Every jaw at the table dropped. And in that moment, the family I thought I knew fell apart forever. Serafina's eyes stayed glued to the folder, her smile faltering. "What's that, sweetheart?" my dad asked, confused. I inhaled slowly. The moment I'd been dreading was here. This, I said, resting my hand on the folder, is a police report. The silence was unbearable. My mom's face went pale, her eyes wide. My father carefully set down his glass of wine. Damien leaned forward, studying the folder with nervous intensity. A police report, my mom repeated, her voice trembling. Leela, what's going on? Are you okay? I'm not okay, I said, locking eyes with Serafina. I've been the victim of a crime, identity theft, and fraud. Serafina didn't touch the folder, her expression froze like stone. What are you even talking about? She asked, her tone sharp and shaky. Open it, I said steadily. Damien placed his hand on her arm. Maybe we should talk about this in private, Serafina. There's nothing to discuss, she snapped. Leela's clearly mistaken. My father, hating conflict, tried to brush it aside. Girls, this isn't some sort of joke, is it? No, Dad. I reached across the table, flipped open the folder, and slid the first page into view, the official letterhead, the case number, my name. 2 weeks ago, I explained, the bank called me about missed mortgage payments on a $623,000 loan. A loan I never signed for a property I don't own, 4872 Highland Drive. My mother gasped softly. But that's Serafina's house. Exactly, I said. The house she's been bragging about for months. It was bought under my name through fraud, and not just the mortgage. There's a home equity loan, 3 credit cards, and a personal loan. All maxed out, all defaulted. The color drained from Serafina's face. This is absurd, she said with a forced laugh. It must be some clerical mistake or, the police don't think so, I cut in. Neither does the handwriting expert who confirmed my forged signature, or the evidence showing the mortgage was filed from your old condo's IP address. Damien shot up from his chair. We don't have to sit here for this. We're leaving. Sit down, my father barked, his voice shaking with fury I'd never heard before. Both of you, explain yourselves. Serafina's expression hardened, her panic turning to calculation. Fine, you want the truth. Damien's firm collapsed when his partner stole funds. My commissions dried up. We were drowning. We were about to lose everything we worked for. So your solution was to steal my identity, my voice cracked, to bury me under $800,000 in debt. It was only supposed to be temporary, Serafina snapped. Once things turned around, we were going to refinance in our names. You wouldn't have even noticed. That's a lie, I said quietly. Detectives found bankruptcy searches on your computer under my name. You planned to ruin me. My mother began sobbing. My father's face went crimson. Serafina, he said, his voice low and dangerous. Tell me this isn't true. Tell me you didn't do this to your sister. Serafina wavered, then her shoulders slumped. You don't get it. We had built a life, a reputation. People expected us to succeed. I couldn't just let it all collapse. I expected you to be my sister, I whispered. To love me, not destroy me. Damien suddenly turned on her. I warned you this would backfire. You insisted on dragging Leela into it. There was no choice, Serafina shot back. Your terrible investments ruined us. What was I supposed to do? Not commit felonies? Damien roared. Do you realize what you've done? We could both go to prison. My parents stared in disbelief. My father's hands shook as he stood. Get out, both of you. Out of my house. Dad, please, Serafina begged, tears spilling down her cheeks. I couldn't tell if they were genuine or another performance. I understand perfectly, he said, cutting her off. You stole from your own sister. You lied to us. You were ready to destroy Leela's life for your pride. You're not the daughter I raised. My mom looked broken, her voice barely a whisper. Serafina, how could you? We taught you better than this. Nothing happened to me, Serafina snapped back. I just refuse to be mediocre. I won't end up like Leela, alone in a tiny apartment, drowning in plants instead of ambition. Her words sliced through me like glass. Is that what you think? I asked, stunned. That my life is worthless because I don't live in a mansion. You could have had more, she spat. You're smart. You chose to settle. You weren't even using your credit, so what's the big deal? Damien gripped her arm. Enough, we're leaving. He turned on me, eyes blazing. This isn't finished, Leela. You don't realize what you've started. I know exactly what I've started, I said coldly. Protecting myself from 2 criminals. As they reached the door, my mother cried out. Will the police arrest you? Serafina froze. For the first time, real fear flickered in her eyes. I don't know, probably. When they left, silence swallowed the house. My dad poured himself more wine with shaking hands. My mom dabbed her tears with a napkin, looking 10 years older. I should have seen it, she whispered. The cars, the house, we knew they couldn't afford it, but this, never. None of us saw it, I said softly, taking her hand. I never thought she'd do something like this to anyone, least of all me. My dad studied the report, his voice flat. What happens next? The DA decides if charges move forward. Detective Cruz says it's almost certain. They'll be arrested soon. The banks are working with me, but rebuilding my credit will take years. We sat for hours, numb, until my brother Julian returned. When he heard, his shock quickly turned to rage. If it comes to trial, I'll testify. What she did is unforgivable. That night, driving home, I felt hollow. I'd done everything I could to protect myself, yet all I felt was grief, for the sister I thought I knew, for the family that could never be the same. Aftermath 3 days later, Detective Cruz called. The warrants have been signed. Serafina and Damien were taken into custody this morning. They've been charged with identity theft, fraud, forgery, and conspiracy. The local news pounced. Seattle realtor and financial advisor arrested in $800,000 identity fraud scheme. The victim was described only as a family member, but anyone who knew us could connect the dots. My phone blew up with texts from friends, relatives, even old classmates. I turned it off. I couldn't face the pity. My parents shut down socially. Dad stopped golfing. Mom took a leave from teaching. Decades of friendships felt poisoned overnight. They're all talking about us, Mom said one evening, ashamed, wondering what went wrong. You didn't go wrong, I told her. But privately, I wondered if we'd all missed signs of Serafina's selfishness, overlooked them because she always seemed to land on her feet. Soon, my parents started pressing me to ease up. Serafina and Damien had posted bail, their passports confiscated, assets frozen, house under foreclosure. She made a terrible mistake, Mom begged over the phone. But she's still your sister, still my daughter. Can't you ask the DA for probation instead of prison? Mom, I said firmly, she tried to bankrupt me. Do you realize what that would have meant? No apartment, no car loan, maybe no nursing job. She was ready to ruin me permanently. I know, she sobbed, but she has 2 children. Think about your niece and nephew growing up without their mother. That thought gutted me. Alara and Rowan, ages 5 and 7, had nothing to do with this. They adored me and I adored them. The thought of them suffering broke me. But Marissa, my best friend, snapped me back to reality. Don't let guilt blind you, Leela, she told me over drinks. Serafina chose this path. You're the victim. Your parents are protecting the wrong child. Don't you dare feel bad for saving yourself. She was right. So when I met with Prosecutor Clara Wu, I made my stance clear. I won't withdraw, I won't ask for leniency. She has to face the consequences. The prosecutor nodded. I admire your courage. Most family fraud cases collapse because of pressure to forgive, but crimes like this destroy lives. They deserve real punishment. The trial months dragged on, but finally, 9 months after that dinner, the plea deal came. In court, I watched my sister stand in a modest blue suit, thinner than before, her glamour gone. Serafina Vale, the judge intoned, you have pleaded guilty to identity theft, fraud, and conspiracy. Before sentencing, do you wish to make a statement? She turned slightly toward me. For just a heartbeat, I glimpsed the sister I once knew, human, vulnerable. I want to apologize, she said softly. To my sister, what I did was beyond wrong. I betrayed her trust in the worst way. I was selfish, desperate, terrified of losing everything. But that's no excuse. I hurt the one person who's always loved me, and I'll carry that shame forever. I am so sorry, Leela. The judge raised his gavel. And I sat there, torn between grief and relief, knowing that nothing would ever undo the betrayal. As the gavel struck and the courtroom emptied, I felt a strange mix of grief and relief settle over me. Serafina's apology echoed in my ears, but it couldn't erase the wreckage she had caused. Outside, the sky was gray, heavy with rain, as if the world itself carried the weight of our broken family. Mom and Dad walked ahead slowly, their shoulders bent, their faces lined with years they hadn't yet lived. I realized then that even though Serafina's sentence would end one day, the scars she left on us never truly would. Betrayal doesn't vanish with time served. It lingers, reshaping everything. But I also knew this. She hadn't destroyed me. I was still standing, still fighting, and still free. For the first time in months, I felt the smallest spark of hope that maybe, just maybe, I could start again, this time on my own terms. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to leave a comment, hit subscribe, follow for more, and turn on the bell icon so you never miss the next one.